20-10 victory last night, actually, against the Chargers. Game was on Sunday Night Football on NBC, so it was a primetime slot. But I thought this was a great opportunity for the Ravens to showcase not just their defensive prowess. We already know that the Ravens are a top 3 defense in the NFL, led by their front 7 with Roquan Smith and Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy. So they have a lot of talent in their front 7. And also we know how good their secondary is with led by Marlon Humphreys. But this was a great opportunity for the Ravens to showcase their offensive prowess, and the Ravens did a great job of controlling the time possession by keeping the Chargers offense off the field, and it prevented them from getting to a rhythm. And if we look at the time of possession, the Ravens held the ball for 33 minutes compared to the Chargers 26. Obviously, the Chargers also had 4 turnovers, which is on account of, like we talked about already, the defense of the Ravens. And I want to go back to the offense. This was a great opportunity, like I said, for Baltimore to showcase their offensive prowess and how much talent they actually have on the offense side of the ball. Listen, all season we've talked about Gus Edwards and his ability to run the ball and how that will be a good balanced attack to coincide with Lamar Jackson. But Keaton Mitchell is another player that has come on strong over the past couple of games. Last game he had 9 carries for 64 yards, but his explosiveness is what adds that extra dynamic to Baltimore's offense. You know, Gus Edwards is more of their power back, while Keaton Mitchell is more of their explosive third down back that can get out in the flats. And then we start to get outside. Listen, Baltimore has Zay Flowers, who might be their best receiver as a rookie. We know he had that big touchdown at the end of the game to close it out off the sweep. Odell Beckham Jr. is still there, plays in the slot. Nelson Aguilar is also there. So there's a lot of talent to go around on the offensive side of the ball for Baltimore, which would be huge with their tight end. The brother's name is slipping my mind. If you guys know, you can correct me. The tight end for Baltimore, who's actually out for the remainder of the season. He hurt his toe, if I'm not mistaken, last week, or his ankle. His name will come back to me, but their starting tight end is out, so it would be huge. It's huge for these other guys to step up, to be another target, to be another threat for Lamar Jackson. And one thing that is prominent is Lamar Jackson. Yes, he went 18-32 with 177 yards. The numbers don't look gaudy, but they're efficient. And the biggest thing is that he's not turning the ball over. He's not putting the ball in harm's way. And we always talk about that's one of the biggest factors for a quarterback to be successful is their ability to control the ball, control tempo, just like the point guard in basketball. And Baltimore is starting to get into a rhythm. They're playing great football. They're peaking at the right time. And listen, it looks like the rest of the AFC North is really starting to feed off of each other after Baltimore. Listen, Pittsburgh 7-4, Cleveland 7-4, Cincinnati's 5-6. Cleveland is coming off a loss against the Broncos, and Pittsburgh just defeated Cincinnati. Like I said, I don't think Cincinnati's going to make the playoffs. But you know, I predicted that in our preseason show on our podcast. I don't think Cincinnati just has enough talent to compete with the AFC North. I actually have Cleveland making the playoffs still, even with the losses of Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb. I still think that Cleveland is going to be able to make the playoffs because their defense and Myles Garrett is just so talented. It's not for real. And I had Pittsburgh as well making the playoffs. Even with all the offensive struggles they have, even they struggled offensively yesterday, only scored 13 points. Their defense, just like Cleveland, is so phenomenal. led by T.J. Watt and Ward and Fitzpatrick. There's just so much talent, man, on the defense side of the ball for Pittsburgh. I think that they'll be able to make the playoffs as well. But neither of those teams can really compete with Baltimore. And now, so the question becomes, okay, is Baltimore the best team in the AFC? They've been the most consistent. If you had to ask me right now, I'm more fearful of them than Kansas City because I feel like Baltimore's defense is not only better than Kansas City's defense, but also Baltimore's offense seems to be more efficient, more consistent than Kansas City's. I'm not saying that we all know that Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, but in totality, I think the talent level, I think the weapons in Baltimore are much better than that of Kansas City. I think that the running attack is much better in Baltimore than that of Kansas City. I think the offensive line has been playing much better in Baltimore than that of Kansas City. There's more positives as of right now. Things look much brighter in Baltimore than they do in Kansas City. I think Kansas City and Baltimore are the two best teams in the AFC, but if you had to ask me right now, just based on what I saw last night, I would say Baltimore is the best team in the AFC, followed by Kansas City, and then followed by Miami after that. And if you had to ask me right now, I think Baltimore's the best team in the AFC. Do I think they're going to win the AFC? That's another question. That's another debate we can have, later on down the road. But right now, I do think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC, and I think that people have to take note of that because people were questioning whether Lamar Jackson was worthy or deserving of that contract, of that extension. And I believe he is starting to answer a lot of those questions because people get so caught up in the numbers and the analytics. But we have to take a step back and reflect and understand that the man is winning football games. When it comes down to it, it's about winning games. And winning at the right time. Winning in the playoffs, obviously, when it matters most. I believe that Baltimore right now has the talent level on the offensive side of the ball, surrounded by Lamar Jackson, to give him the best opportunity he's had since he's been there to win in the playoffs. And we're truly going to see whether he was deserving of that extension come playoff time. But I think this is the best opportunity that he's had since he's been in Baltimore to win in the playoffs. Huge difference between winning in the playoffs and winning in the regular season. Teams have much longer time to scout you and create different reads and schemes for you. So we're going to see come playoff time. But I do think Baltimore is the scariest team in the AFC right now. I think it would be an exciting matchup if Baltimore and Kansas City were to compete or were to face off in the AFC Championship game. I'm not saying that Baltimore is going to win the AFC as of right now, but I do think they're the best team in the AFC. No question about it. I do think that they're the best team in the AFC. I think they've been the most consistent team in the NFL, quite frankly. And it looks like they're only improving. It looks like their trajectory is starting to rise. And we talk about culture all the time across all the sports, on all of our shows. We talk about the importance of culture. Baltimore has the strongest culture in the NFL. And it's no surprise that they are always in some sort of contention, either to make the playoffs or even to win the conference, let alone win the division. So it's no question that Baltimore is the best team in the AFC right now. And until Kansas City or Miami shows me something otherwise, I will continue to say that. I think the gap between Baltimore and Kansas City is wider than the gap between Kansas City and Miami. I think Miami is really starting to come to their own as well. Listen, that defense side of the ball in Miami is phenomenal. And Kansas City, we all know their consistency. And listen, they're the team to beat in the AFC. But also another team that no one isn't talking about, and I know why. I know exactly why, because they don't want to give credit to Russell Wilson because Russell is Denver Broncos. They don't want to give credit to Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson doesn't necessarily fit the mold of what a black quarterback is supposed to be in the media. You know, he's a family man. He doesn't do all the tattoos and the chains. What some people will call a square, quote unquote, is really just a black man that's going about the world without being constricted by stereotypes and facades. Russell Wilson is just doing things the way he finds it the right way to do, and because whenever, especially as a black man, whenever you don't align or whenever you can't be fit into a box and controlled, quote unquote, the society tries to demean you or try to castigate you. And the same thing's happening with Russell Wilson. Because he doesn't really fit into a box and you can't really label him, society and the media specifically tries to castigate him and denigrate him and attack him. Even outside of football, it starts to get to a point where it becomes personal, and it's like, whoa, man. But Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos are 6-5 right now. Listen, they've won 5 straight games, if I'm not mistaken. They're second in the AFC West, 2 games behind Kansas City. They're in contention right now to make the playoffs. So don't be surprised if Denver will be another team that will either be a tough out or a team that you don't want to face in the playoffs, whether it be in the wild card round or the divisional round. So let me know what you guys think about all that. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. But yes, as of right now, I do have Baltimore as the best team in the AFC, and I will continue to say that until I see otherwise. But in our next segment, guys, we're going to transition over to the NFC and discuss whether the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have any competition in the NFC at any point this season. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. Be right back.